Joe 200, how are you? It's January 25th, the morning, Monday, um, and we're going to launch into the second week of weekly assignments, and you go into it right into here, okay? Again, for those of you new, this taskbar takes you to everything that you need to do. Do download the syllabus. I'm not going to do that for you. We're going to go into the weekly assignment. It'll be time to start thinking about papers in a week before the first 2 to 3 page paper starts. I'm going to go in there and show you how to do that. Okay, but go ahead and check it out. This is where the midterms will launch from. Okay, so that's midterm 1 and midterm 2. There's an extra credit project that you can look into by just clicking on here. It's about all about your experience to this crazy pandemic. And then these are all these how to succeed folders. So how to post in Blackboard is in there. How to avoid plagiarism is in there. Okay. How to get an A in the class, a video that I've done previously. Okay. All right. At any point in time during the semester, please go ahead and do this survey. You can do it as many times as you want. We use the feedback to improve the product. Okay. Alrighty, so USC is in this whole big wellness thing, and a big part of wellness is good sleep. I got no sleep at all last night, man. The wind was howling, the rain was just pouring, sounded like hail. And the other thing that happens when you get older, you can't sleep anyway. So yeah, it was a miserable night. So, but all right, you know what? What choice do you have? But you just have to continue on, and that's what we're gonna do. Hey, here comes the sun, though. You can feel it. Look at that. Check it out. The rays of light coming in here. It's beautiful. All right, cool. All right, so let's check it out. Let's go into our weekly assignment here. So I clicked right there on the weekly assignment. Again, this is for those of you new. This is some just background about how things are run in this weekly assignment category of our Blackboard course. We did week 1 last time. We're going to launch into week 2. These are the discussion of global aging, and these are like a big overview and review that we'll get into greater detail, especially about things about economics and retirement and all that comes down later in the course with it's a very useful detail, right? So that's what this is. This is just kind of setting the table for everything that we're going to do in the course. We'll get into U.S. issues right here when we do the Pew Research Center. So let's go into this guy right here, okay? All right. Okay. All right, so this is mostly, like I said, kind of an economic perspective, and this part 2. And I'm going to put my video right in here, all right? And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into the actual file, okay? You'll see throughout, I just put it up here, the PDF file here, this reading, they refer to a certain group, okay? And this is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. It's a global organization, okay? And it was a really, really cool gathering of people that got together to put together this document that we're reading right here, okay? It was sponsored by the National Institute on Aging, as you see right here, but it was a global effort. And a lot of you guys are going to be global citizens, in terms of your business practices. You're going to want to know what's going on economically in countries all around the world. All right, so what is the plan? We already did forward through trend 4. I got into trend 5, so I'll do trend 5 again a little bit, and then we'll continue on through 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. All right, so I'm going to scroll downward and get through that. Okay, make you all dizzy. Trend 2, 3, okay, 4, okay, and 5. All right, so I did launch into this, okay, and again, the overview of this one is just, how prepared are countries around the world, so for this big transition, and it's a big deal, when you look at the distributions of age groups in your society, it really dictates how that society is run. We can see this kind of in a microcosm. Julie and I, when we first moved out to California, I got my PhD, and she just got an undergraduate degree at Rice. We moved to Hermosa Beach, and Hermosa Beach was just a bunch of singles, man. There were bars and restaurants catering to my age group. Okay, times have changed a little bit in Hermosa, but that was the drill back then. That's the same thing you see like in Venice and and just West Hollywood, stuff like that. And then we kind of grew up. We had kids. We moved to South Orange County. It's very suburban, and so the economy of South Orange County caters to people like me. So that's just like a subset. Okay. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Okay, so like I said last time, Russia is showing the biggest decline of any country in the world. The prediction from 2006 to 2030. Japan had a very accelerated decline. Okay, and they are experiencing problems. Okay, in terms of maintaining their economic position in the world, number three economy in the world, but the problem is with fewer workers and a greater aging society, it's causing a transition in their economy. Okay, so when you have fewer workers, your gross domestic product, that positive part of it is going to can potentially shrink, and more importantly, when you're having to funnel money out to care of people that are not not making a generalization about older people, but if they're not really creating the economy, that's a negative in terms of the gross domestic product. Okay, all righty. So we can see this transition that's happening right here in these different countries globally. All right, and I kind of went over this last time, and then as we looked here at Russia, we can hone in on exactly what was going on in Russia, the distribution, and it's pretty dramatic. Okay, people are living longer. These are people that do not immigrate, do not leave. We see fewer and fewer younger people. Why would that be? Okay, less reproduction. Okay, so less fertility, and people are getting the hell out of Dodge. Okay, people are saying, you know what? If I can get out of Russia, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it at a young age. Okay, and so that's what you get. You get this distribution. Okay, very cool. All right, so then across the globe, then this impact of fewer younger people, more older people, it's going to change a big segment of society. And so this is, in terms of social sciences, this is a big one. Looking at family structure, and family structure is looking at again, finances, okay, and finances as related to care. Okay, so when we look at we have lower birth rates in a lot of these more developed countries that we're talking about. Okay, we saw that the transition is lagging behind in undeveloped countries. Okay, westernized versus non-westernized, whatever kind of jargon that you want to use. Okay, but we had this kind of balancing act, okay, between an increase in life expectancy for older people, okay, so that's going to become then a negative drain on the economy, a negative drain on the gross domestic product, okay, and then you couple that with a reduction in fertility rates. Okay, and so when we look at the distribution, that demographers refers to as a beanpole family, meaning if we look at the youngest age groups on the bottom, okay, oldest age groups at the top of the distribution. Okay, a long time ago there would be a lot of children here across the bottom, and very few old people. Okay, but as the children are beginning to disappear and older people are less and longer, then all of a sudden the distribution becomes like a beanpole. All right, all right, all right. So and they go into it, again, looking at some of the kind of health trends that are constituting this distributional change. Okay, so we see that again, mortality rate, okay, death rates continue to improve. Okay, we actually took a little bump in our country in terms of the expected life expectancy. Sorry, the life expectancy, and it was a two-fisted hit. Okay, over the last 5 years. Again, we're looking on average. If you're born this year, what is your life expectancy? And a large percentage of people were dying from opioid overdoses and across our country, and it actually reduced the life expectancy in the United States. Okay. Um, So now we have a pandemic, and that also reduced the life expectancy across the United States. In fact, if I can go in here, I'll just go. I think I can find it. I know it was an article in USA News um, last week. Let's see if I can find that thing. Okay. Alrighty, and here it is. Okay, so right here is the story at USA News. It says a decline in life expectancy. COVID-19 drove the largest single-year decline in U.S. life expectancy, and it shows you that again, demographically vulnerable populations hit the hardest. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and jump into that and click on that article. So we're very relevant in GERO 200, which is way cool. Okay, all right. Um, and then the other things that are happening now, so you have fewer children, you have more older people, okay? And then sadly, fewer of you guys are getting married. When you do get married, more likely to get divorced. And then this all causes a pretty, I don't know, volatile, if I want to call it, situation in terms of family structure and caring for older people, okay? Alrighty, so somebody's pinging me. I'm going to have to get that later. Okay, so then from that we have to get into living arrangements. Okay, and again we can look at the United States. Okay, and I mean United States and Japan. It's kind of the canary in the coal mine because their transition was very sudden. Okay, they don't have a huge population to begin with, and so we look at the family collective, that is so characteristic of other countries, not ours. I was 18 and I bolted and never returned home. Now you guys are finding yourself kind of living as a family collective, and you can see how difficult that is. Okay, so we're looking at older people now. Okay, and we look at in Japan, okay, and we look at the scale here, how people have lived through this study, going from 1960 to 2000, and we see this transition, okay, of living with a married child, okay, that used to be the norm in Japan. You see it's going down here, the blue, okay. You're expected more to live just with your spouse. Okay, so this is the biggest change, but we're seeing a lot of people are living alone, and really outside the cultural norm, more people are being put into institutions. This is not the family collective. It's something that we do really a poor job here in our country. Okay, it's so expensive to live, and if you can figure out a way to live with your parents, okay, and provide the caregiving, you can combine your financial resources, and then you can really afford to live in a much better community. Okay, it is the reality, right? If you all launch out on your own, then everybody has to do independently really well. Okay, so we do see this kind of new trend a little bit in the United States because it's so expensive to live here, of the family collective coming together, pooling resources. Okay, all righty. So then we look at what are we going to do? We have a lot more older people, fewer younger people, and so the deal is a lot of countries globally, especially in Europe, had high tax rates, okay, and really uh, kind of lucrative social support systems, okay? Social Security, Medicare, things like that, okay? And so as older people live longer, then they have to pay into these kind of social support systems longer, and there's fewer and fewer workers because of the decline in fertility. So you can do the math. What are you going to do to fix that? And that's what this chapter is all about, okay? It becomes a big policy issue. So a lot of you guys are going to be going into the government, going into business and the economy, and so there's been a shift. Okay, we've had that in our country in terms of getting your full Social Security benefit. We're shifting the retirement age as to when that happens. It's creeping towards 70 right now. From my when I was born, it's 67 years to get the full benefit. And then our government creates an incentive program, okay, to not retire early. So if I would try to, I could retire at 62. I'm 64 right now. I could have done it at 62, but I would have suffered a significant penalty in my Social Security. All right, so they encouraged me to keep working. And then if I were, so I can get my quote unquote full retirement, okay? Yeah, it's a sliding scale that we'll talk about later on. But if I work till I was 70, I can get the maximum retirement on my Social Security, okay? Because the government's got an actuarial, and they're saying, you know what, John Walsh is not going to live a lot longer past 70, so we'll give him more money. We'll give him a little bump, a reward for doing it later on in life, okay? And yeah, so you can increase your Social Security by 30% compared to what you get when you're 67 by retiring at age 70. All right. So again, this group right here is the group I was talking about. So this is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. All right, that did this. Okay, and this report is looking at, again, all aspects of kind of the different spokes that come into the economy. Money in, money out. We looked at diseases, okay, non-communicable chronic diseases that really cause a drain on the financial well-being of a country, because stuff like Medicare has to pay for the really lengthy hospital visits and things like that. Okay. So what they did is they just for categorization, they divided the people into these different categories that we see right here. Okay, years in the workforce, years in retirement. Okay, this is you guys spent in school, you guys that are looking for a job. Okay, so they're just kind of dividing this all up. Okay, and what we're seeing here, okay, is just to survive, oftentimes the social support is inadequate. And so we're seeing both men and women over this study right here, of ages 55 to 64. Now, obviously, this seems, that still seems like a pretty cherry situation, retiring in that age group. But in Europe, it wasn't. Europe had a very early retirement. Okay, but you see, women and men are staying employed longer, and you're seeing a bigger transition in women. Okay, we'll see in the United States the same thing is happening. Okay, all right. Now this is the pickle. This is the problem that these countries have gotten themselves into. Okay, now you see Japan. Japan was very wise. Okay, and they have basically made it so that you need to contribute to your own well-being financially. We're not going to give you a public pension. Okay, a public pension is a guaranteed income. In our country, public pensions, okay, are the guaranteed money that the president gets when he retires, congressmen, senators, city managers, police officers, firemen, all these different government jobs. You get a guaranteed pension till the day you die. Okay, now that's huge. Okay, and again, the pension system is something that's paid into by your tax dollars. Okay, it's not like a bank account that's growing, like we're going to talk about later on what I have. Okay, where I have my own account with Fidelity. Okay, you can have a 401k. Okay, or like what I have, it's called a 403b, because I work for a quote unquote nonprofit. Hard to believe, but that's what a university is. But either way, I'm investing in my future. Okay, it's me. Okay, whereas you guys are investing in all the pensioners' future by paying taxes. Okay, and so what's happened here is the number of people that were offered a pension in Belgium, Italy, Netherlands, and France was enormous. Okay, and that creates a kind of a socialized burden financially, and the only way you're going to come out from under that is to pay through higher taxes. Okay, all righty. So this goes into a description, okay, of what I was talking about. So now we can look at the economics. Some of you guys are business majors and econ majors here, and I love figures. Okay, I encourage you guys to read through it, but I'm just going to look at the figures here. And this is the pension expenditures in the European Union, and they chose a number of the key countries as a percentage of the gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is all of the profit, okay, that you have plus the negative. Okay, so it's a simple plus minus equation, and then at the end we can look at the economic well-being of a country. Okay, and like I said, like I showed in the previous figure, we see here Italy, Poland, France, Germany. These guys have a huge amount of money flowing out. That is a negative in terms of their economy of those countries, paying for the pensions of these of their elders that are oftentimes offered a pension at age 55. Ireland, not so much. Okay, so Ireland saw what was coming. All right, so yeah, this is a big deal, big deal. Okay, so how about China? Okay, so China was in a very, very difficult situation as well. Okay, and so we can show you here, right here, the pickle, the dilemma. Okay, so we see that the millions and millions of pensioners, okay, the guaranteed income being provided by the government compared the ratio to the ratio of workers. Remember, they had the one-child law in China, so they didn't have replacement. So the number of younger people that are paying taxes, supporting these older people goes down and down and down. It's pretty simple. If we're going to give these people the same amount of money, we got to charge these people greater taxes. Okay, and this is kind of what we are going to be in our situation in our country, because the Social Security system, sorry, is not a bank account that earns interest. Okay, money goes in, and the second it goes in, it goes out. Okay, and so the only way to make that equation work is to give more and more money in. Okay, or encourage people to retire later. Okay, or even worse, offer them less money for Social Security. Too many people, that's their only source of income. Okay, alrighty. So what is the solution? Okay, a big solution is what we see here. Let me scoop myself over, is you have to encourage households to invest in their own future. Okay, this could be individual stocks that we see right here in blue, or large bundles of stocks that are called mutual funds. Okay, these would be thousands and thousands of companies that are a category of investment. Okay, let's say it's all tech, like NASDAQ. Okay, or maybe you could look at high risk versus low risk. Okay, the companies, these are called low cap and high capital companies. So a low cap company is a risky investment, but you can get a huge return on it. A high cap company like Google, okay, is a very low risk investment. Okay, but the return could be much slower. Anyways, we see different countries. Look at these guys down here. Who's trailing? Nobody invests in stocks or in mutual funds in these countries because it gets such huge pensions. They don't care. Okay, over here, the pensions are not so high, so they really encourage people to invest in themselves. Okay, all righty. So we're looking at again an individual right here in this particular figure. All right, and from the day you're born, you're still going to be a consumer, meaning that you need to have resources to purchase. Okay, right through here, you're not generating any income. So what does that make you? How are you going to pay for all this stuff? You are dependent on your parents. Okay, then all of a sudden, boom, 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 your dependency disappears. Okay, and now you're generating lots of income. Okay, more income than you consume, which is cool. So now you can pay for kids over here, as well as the elders over here, because you see, and you get out here into this age range right here, and again, now you're all consumption, you're not working. All right, so somebody's going to have to pay for this. Either you do it with your pension, with your retirement income from mutual fund investments, okay, or from your children that are working. All right, that's pretty much it. All righty. So all right, so this is just an overview of the different countries that put together this study with some really cool resources. We're expecting a new product just like this pretty soon, especially now that we're cooperating a little bit more with Europe. Okay, cool. All right. The reason I have this right here is I'm going to go down here to our discussion. Okay, guys. And again, this is, this right here shows you, just for comparison, the U.S. analysis of pension versus gross domestic product, and you see the same thing right here. Okay, that this the percent of that the pension holds in terms of our gross domestic product is marching upward. Okay? It's right about 7. Remember, Europe was 14, sometimes 20, 40%. So we stack up not as good as Ireland, but better than most. Okay. All right. So this is your discussion. So we want you to take a look at these figures right here. Okay. Interpret them, and then we want you to kind of go down. You read what we're talking about here. We talk about the dilemma that's happening in Japan. Okay. And it talks about how people work. Okay. There's very little reproduction. Okay. What that does in terms of their population. So they've had a dramatic decline in population. There may be sex, but there's no reproduction. Okay. And as a result, it's creating this crisis, as we see right here, in terms of the older people and how to care for them. Okay. And this is a really cool article here at Business Insider. You can either go directly to the link, but we've also downloaded the PDF file right in here, and it discusses these issues very, very clearly. We come back up here, again, we look at these three figures, and we see as a percentage of global population, again, age under 5, there's a decline in these numbers, again, as a percentage. Okay, we're still having population momentum, where people, we still have growth in population, but as a percentage compared to age 65, you see that this is going the wrong direction in terms of supporting the older people, both socially and emotionally, but also economically. So you're gonna have to come up with a plan on that. And this is from our previous first week of discussion when we're talking about this transition, okay, from 7 to 14% of the population being age 65 and over. And so a lot of countries had time to hopefully figure it out, but we still haven't figured it out, even though we had a long time. Japan, it happened pretty quickly, but it happened, pretty early. But they're still, seething with how to deal with this. And then we see these other countries dealing with it in the present and in immediate future. We can see the population growth. These are raw numbers instead of percentage in millions. Looking at India and China, going from 2010 to 2050 of older people. So these are all a big part of economics, and that's what I want you guys to think about. All right. And the reason I have they talk about people in the article, we're working to the point of making themselves ill and even death. There's actually a Japanese word for this. It's called karoshi, and this is death by overwork. Okay, so we're done with this, guys. Please email me, text me if you can. For the others that are fishermen, I'm wearing my Polaris sweatshirt. All right, and you guys stay safe. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna see you next time. So peace.